Welcome, race fans, to the third round of the iAmericanCanadian Tour. You're going to see all of the racing for the entire season right here on Maconi Entertainment. This is a 5-week series featuring real-world competitors thrown into a virtual setting with an even playing field. That means fixed setups, equal equipment, and everyone on track has the talent to bring home the checkered flag at the end of a race. $400 total in prize pool is up for grab at the end of the season for the points champions, all courtesy of some great series sponsors: GossCars.com, Pard Brothers Racing, and the Thunder Road Super Bowl. Super Late Models is the name of the game. Tonight's flavor will be the very popular Stafford Motor Speedway for 75 laps of action in the feature. Now we're going to get to some heats before that, and my name is Joey Atterbury. Joining me in the booth is Nolan Rempel. Our producer is Ryan Bauer, and the camera angles being used tonight have been provided by Dougie Beard. We do have race control for this event. It's Brandon Davis. He's going to be keeping an eye on all of the action on track. And Nolan, when we talk about short track racing in the Northeast, Stafford is always the topic and hosts a huge variety of racing, even including the SK Modifieds. And recently, the Super Late Models were reintroduced to their schedule. And tell us more about this small track up in Connecticut.
It is often referred to as the modified capital, as a matter of fact, right up there with Thompson Speedway. Opened in 1870, this track was originally a fairgrounds before it was changed to an asphalt racetrack. It is, of course, a track that has different bagging at each end of the racetrack. On one end, it is 9 degrees in 1 and 2, 3 and 4 holds only 7.5. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out for over the course of the night, especially in turns 3 and 4, to watch as drivers might be utilizing a bit of a wider arc through that second to last corner as these guys try to get themselves set up for the run down the front straightaway. Can sit up to 10,200 spectators when at full capacity, and this track, sitting at just a half-mile long, should play for one heck of a super late model race here tonight.
Going to be action-packed no matter what, and take a look at the point standings right here as we come in. I mentioned this is round 3 of 5, and right now PJ Evans sits on top, just barely ahead of Jeff Coate. Derek Glachaki also in the running, as well as Reese Bogue. All of those 4 competitors 90 points and over, but don't count out any of these other players. Aaron Plemons, Casey Beattie, Jason Ricker, Ty Delphia, Tyler Connolly, and Joey Israelson all inside the top 10 for the points. And in my opinion, all of these drivers definitely have the talent to win here tonight at Stafford. And take a look at the race analysis. This is going to be the feature: 75 laps of racing, 1 fast repair, so if they pick up any damage, they can come down and get that fixed, although you don't want to burn that too early, and only 1 green-white checkered attempt, and of course, that fixed setup by Maconi Setup Shop. So these cars should be able to lap around Stafford Motor Speedway quite easily and should be turning quite well out there. And I know before we get to any of the action here, we're actually going to take a look at tonight's starting grid, because this is the first heat here. I mentioned we're going to have 10-lap heats, about 4 of them, and Chris Fisher is going to be leading us off. Brian Rogers in second place, Regan Parent there in third, Jason Goodbout fourth, Joey Israelson fifth, Bert Duffy in the 6th place position. Then I believe we have Caden Fisher and Matt Smith that's going to be rounding out the 8 cars that are going to be taking this first heat here. And before we actually get going, see the weather on screen. Nice cool night, but track temperature is pretty warm. I want to thank all of our sponsors, and that starts with GossCars.com. New and used car sales, as well as expert car maintenance and care using skilled technicians. Goss Dodge, Chrysler, Ram, and Jeep there in South Burlington, Vermont. And Pard Brothers Racing, race car parts dealer there in Vermont. The Thunder Road Super Bowl. Thank you to the Thunder Road Super Bowl, the nation's site of excitement. And I think excitement is actually going to be the name of the game, because that's on tonight's menu here at Stafford Motor Speedway, Nolan.
It most certainly is, and it's going to be a packed event for us here, as well as we've got ourselves 4 heat races about to rumble to life here for the Stafford Speedway. This is going to be capped off by our consolation race. We're getting set to sort everything on out for our feature event here tonight. We saw a barn burner over at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway just 1 week ago, and we're hoping that we'll be seeing something just as exciting here tonight.
I think we are, and you notice this racetrack definitely a little bit different than last week. I think they're having a little bit more room to play out there on the straightaway, but It actually narrows up pretty tight through turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Going to have to see how each one of these heats navigates this racetrack with these big super late models. And remember, we got 4 of these heats, so I think we're going to learn a little bit of something each time around. But it is Chris Fisher inside the number 71 car on screen coming up to this restart zone, and we've got a green flag to kick off the racing here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Fisher and also Brian Rogers going into turn 1 side by side, but that lower lane seems to prevail. The 20 of Regan Perrin pretty loose on that inside lane behind him.
Pushing up from the bottom on the lower bank and in 3 and 4, but it will be Fisher to lead the first lap to green here at the Stafford Speedway, our opening heat race. Couple cars moving wide. Perez, I think, given the bumper by Jason Goodbout, and in fact, it was a bump and run up for that third and final position, and then more contact, obviously, off of turn number 2 as we ran it down to 3 and 4. The 18 of Katie Fisher gets by Jason Goodbout. That's going to put Fisher now up into the final transfer spot, running 4th place as we hightail it back down to turn number 1.
And you're right, Regan got a little shove from Goodbout there, and this is going to be the position to watch during all of these heats, this 4th and 5th position. The top 4 advance to the feature. That means if you're 5th placing out, you got to go to the LCQ or you're going to be out for the night. And check this out. We're having a little bit of problems there with Caden Fisher. He's really loose off of turn 4. This just opens the door for Jason Goodbout. He is looking for any way to get up inside to that 4th position.
Try as he may, it's always going to be a little bit of a struggle at the Stafford Speedway. When you get banking as low as this, passing can be a bit of a struggle unless you really start to use that chrome horn. But hey, that's what these Super Late models are made for. Don't think we're going to be seeing anything just yet. We get set to come to the conclusion of our opening half of this first heat race here tonight. 2 cars saw at the back of the field have been dropping back. Those are the likes of Barrett along with Duffy. They are sitting well and truly outside of the transfer spots. They'll change hands for 6th and 7th place, but for Joey Israelson sitting in 3rd, it's been a decent start of his night. He started up in 5th outside of the spots. He's up to 3rd. The top 2 remain unchanged as we take 4 laps to go. Up to number 4, contact between the 12 and the 36.
Yeah, you just mentioned Joey Israelson, and he stuck his nose down the inside of the 12 there. Thought he might have that position, but that little bit of contact just turned him sideways. And what I'm starting to see is squeezing on the throttle, and here's a late lunge from Goodbout into that 4th position. Now makes Caden Fisher go up the racetrack, and this is important. Now working only 3 laps to go in this first heat. This is that final transfer spot, the battle between Goodbout and Fisher.
And what a fight they're having as well, going door to door. Fisher trying to see if he can hang it high and wide around the outside 3 and 4. Not going to get it, but he'll get the run. Can he get it down to turn 1? Goodbout goes defensive, and Fisher backs out in the last second. They both take it down onto the apron of 1 and 2 to try to get themselves sorted. Coming on down the back straightaway. The fight for the final transfer spot is on as the leaders get set to take the white flag.
Chris Fisher takes that white flag from Barney the flag man. The first heat is almost done here, and you're right, Goodbout went defensive on Caden Fisher. Can Fisher come up with something here on the back straightaway? Doesn't get the run he needs. Does he make a late lunge into turn 3? No, decides to keep it clean, and that means the 71, Chris Fisher, uneventful for him, takes the first heat win. Brian Rogers Jr. coming in 2nd place. Joey Israelson 3rd. Jason Goodbout is going to claim that final transfer spot. Caden Fisher there, 5th place. And then we got 6th, Regan Perrin with those problems early on. Bert Duffy and Matt Smith, who actually didn't take that green flag there. And just like that, we're actually going to line up heat number 2. We're going to roll them out of pit lane. And I always like to ask this. Well, hang on. We got to get to the starting grid. Jacob Roy starting off on pole here. Tyler Jordan, 2nd place. Mike Henriques there in 3rd. Derek Glachaki, 4th place. Justin Prescott, 5th. Brian Hoare there in 6th. PJ Evans and Ethan Tyrrell in 8th. And we've got 2 pace laps here, Nolan. What did we learn, or what did you learn from that first heat?
I think at this point, what we've learned so far is the fact that, as we predicted, passing is not going to be an easy task here tonight. This is a very flat racetrack when you compare it to some of the other bigger names on the short track racing scene, particularly maybe the likes of Slinger, or if you're talking about iRacing Bristol, for example. It does make excuse me, wow, okay, English is hard. It does mean it is a very exciting race to watch, though, as these guys have to get a little bit close. They have to get physical. I think we've also seen that if you can get a good run off of 3 and 4, that opponent in front of you, best hope to go defensive down to 1, or you're going to be able to stick a move easily up the inside.
I agree, and I agree with your analysis of the track as well. Just the flatness of the track, not as much banking out there. You know, you really got to stick it down to the inside. We've seen some of the late lunges, and that's kind of reminiscent of road racing, being late on the brakes into the corner and kind of using the lateral grip. And we'll see if that stays to be a trend here in the racing. I'm actually noticing, I don't think I see 2 cars out on the racetrack, so this is going to be a heat of only 6 cars. Looks like Tyler Jordan in the 29 as well as the 44 of Justin Prescott going to lead him down here into turn 1, and it's the 29 Tyler Jordan up top, a 3-wide racing as Prescott gets swamped around the 03 of Derek Lachocki. Where did he come from?
Almost went 4 wide as he had all 3 cars scrambling to try to make a move up for the outside line. Got one coming off the wall. That's Ethan Tyrrell, who has started to slip back down the field after he made a good jump from 8th place on the starting grid. He's going to fall back, though, to 5th, right up in front of Brian Hoare now as we'll run it down in towards turn numbers 3 and 4. The 23 car going to try to push up to get around Justin Prescott for 4th place. The top 3 starting to break away.
Yeah, really good speed from Tyler Jordan right now. Derek Lachocki hanging on, as well as PJ Evans. They're all starting to check out, and I recognize a few of those names from very good finishes earlier in the season, but it really is all about that Justin Prescott, Ethan Tyrrell, Brian Hoare battle there for the 4th place position. We only have 6 cars in this heat, so kind of all scrunched up here, and right now, actually, Justin Prescott taking advantage of Ethan and Brian battling. 44 saying, keep it up, I'm going to try to run away.
So far, despite there being a few hiccups here and there, the actual race in itself has been very tame when you compare it to the likes of New Hampshire Motor Speedway the last time around. As I say that, the fight's on for the heat race lead. Down the inside is Lachocki, and here comes PJ Evans trying to make it 3 wide. He clips the apron, though, and has to chase the car up the track. Nearly gets into the outside wall. Lachocki down the inside, tries to pick up the race lead for Tyler Jordan. Jordan's going to get the drive over 2, but it won't be enough to hold on to the spot. And Lachocki to the race lead at 3.
And here comes PJ Evans now late on the brakes, trying to do the same move that Derek just did the lap before. He's got the position on Tyler Jordan now, going down the low side of turn 1. He secures that. Tyler Jordan's going to try to over-under, but doesn't look like he's got the drive down the straightaway to try to fight back on PJ Evans right now. And wow, I did not see that coming. That was a big power move from Derek Lachocki, not only on the initial start to go 3 wide, but to make the late lunge on Tyler Jordan for the lead, open the door, and that allowed PJ Evans to follow through as well.
Yeah, no kidding. That was an incredibly good move, and that was decisive as well, right? It goes back to what I was saying about how you have to always set yourself up in these runs. You're not going to be able to just pick a spot and go for it like you may have been able to at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway 1 week ago, where the track was also important. Here, you have to be setting that pass up for a few laps, and unless you can do that, you're not going to be able to make any sorts of moves, and that's why you take the white flag. It's looking like easy street out here for Lachocki.
Yeah, and white flag already. Just got to keep it together. PJ Evans, though, is really keeping Derek Lachocki honest out front, although he's just got to navigate turns 3 and 4, and the 0-3 sees the checkered flag from Barty, and he's going to claim heat race number 2. PJ Evans there in 2nd place, Tyler Jordan 3rd, Justin Prescott 4th, Brian Hoare finishing 5th, and Ethan Tyrrell in the 6th place position. Those were the 6 cars that you had there for heat race number 2. We saw Jacob Roy and Mike Henriques not take the green flag, and it's going to lead us to heat number 3. We're going to have a total of 4 heats tonight, and this 3rd one's going to be led off by Reese Bogue. Zach Audit there in the 2nd place, Ty Delphia there 3rd, Brandon Meyer 4th place, Juan Marshall 5th, Arthur Jordan 6th, Kerry Krenner 7th, and Tyler Connolly. It's going to be the 8 cars we're going to see in heat race number 3, and already getting them out, rolling them out here, and looks like we will have 8 cars. It looks like maybe 7 cars on this one, Nolan.
It's going to be about a match then for the 2nd biggest field we have so far had, and it will be a total of 7 with I believe, trying to find it, it's Juan Marshall, the driver that we are missing in this field. He was going to be our 5th place starter, but the 79 car will not be making it to the starting call. So 1 lap to go, and Zachary Audit, you mentioned it started from the outside line. So far, though, the inside has definitely been all the rage when it comes to the initial jump.
Agreed, and I think also the inside line going into the corner, being able to make those late braking moves, kind of like those road race style late lunges, seems to be the preferred method of passing. And I know we've only seen 2 heats of racing, but it definitely is being a trend out there on the racetrack. And got the lights out on the pace car right now. Reese Bogue going to be looking up at the flag stand. Where is this restart zone? Where can I get on the gas? The number 4 and 09 of Zach is trying to time this restart, but the 4 killer jump and brings the 13 of Ty Delphia along with them up underneath in turn 1, and Reese is already checked out from the field.
Reese Bogue is absolutely on fire as he hightails it, and the black and green number 4 Mustang down off of turn number 4. He'll lead the opening lap to green in heat race number 3. Delphia takes second place from Audit from Mayer. Those are the drivers inside the transfer spots. You still got Krenner and Connolly trying to see if they can't chase after the number 33 car as we run down toward turn numbers 3 and 4. Arthur Jordan sitting loose behind. Oh, spinner off of turn number 4. Kerry Krenner shoots it to the inside of the racetrack. Will keep it green. A self-inflicted error for the number 11 car, and that's going to easily end Krenner's attempts to go for a transfer spot in heat race 3.
And we'll have to wait for that LCQ, call it, to try to advance into the main. And back up to the action on the racetrack. Reese Bogue out almost a second in front of Ty Delphia. Now we've got another spin. That is Brandon Meyer going around. Seems like heat number 3, maybe the track temperature is starting to come up a little bit. That promotes Tyler Connolly in the 4th place position. And actually track temp is staying pretty steady, but 106 degrees, Nolan. That means there's a lot of heat, a lot of slip slide around, and when you start to touch that throttle pedal, when you have this much horsepower, it starts to dance underneath you.
Track temperature currently sitting at about 106 degrees Fahrenheit compared to the 78 in the air, so that kind of gives a bit of an idea of what we're working with. As you saw Zachary Audit just have a big tank slapper off of turn 2. We nearly lost our 3rd place driver in the Rowdy Energy Camry. Tyler Connolly, though, we talked about him before. He was having a bit of a bad run before. Now, though, he's been able to pick himself up into the top 4 positions here as the last driver out of the transfer spots, because on the 2 drivers in front of him, both spun out of the race.
Hey, you know what? If I'm sitting there in Tyler Connolly's position, I'll take it. You know, the easiest positions are the ones that you don't have to gain. And here's Kerry Krenner again having some issues there in turn 1. And it's actually going to be the leader coming through. Kerry Krenner, though, doing the smart thing, staying down on the bottom of the racetrack away from all of the lead lap cars. That is heads up in itself. You don't want to take anybody out unnecessarily, but just like that, with this spread out racing, you know, we haven't really seen any fighting for the top 4. All of these drivers, Reese Bogue, Ty Delphia, Zach Audit, and Tyler Connolly, they all look to be advancing pretty easily out of heat number 3 here. And just like that, Reese is going to take this white flag and have 1 lap left. And we're going to advance on to heat number 4. And you're right, there is quite a bit of attrition here in this heat race. And just like that, Reese is just looking at 1 more turn. Well, technically 2 more turns. Now 1 more turn coming up out of turn 4. There's that checkered flag. Heat race number 3 win to the number 4 car. Ty Delphia coming home 2nd place. Zachary Audit there 3rd. Tyler Connolly 4th place, and your final transfer position, Arthur Jordan 5th. Brandon Meyer 6th, and Kerry Krenner will come home in the 7th place position, 1 lap down. Juan Marshall did not take that green flag, and it'll lead us to heat number 4. Just like that, Nolan, these things are clicking off pretty quick. And Aaron Clemens on pole position for this heat. Casey Beattie 2nd place, Logan Farrell 3rd, Jeff Cote 4th, Jimmy Herbert, Taylor Huard there, and Kelly Miller in the 7th place position. So 7 cars taking the final heat. Remember, the top 4 advance into that feature automatically.
And we are just speeding our way through this field here today, or through this event here at the Stafford Speedway. But it's been an exciting one. I mean, these have been some thrilling heat races we've had. We've had all the good side-by-side action. We had the first two heat races. We saw our first real spins of the day over in heat race number 3. Will we get a mixture of the two in heat race number 4 is going to be the big ticket question, as pace car going to roll off with Aaron Clements in tow. 7 cars were due to start this heat race, and all 7 cars have written that up. So this is going to be the first heat race where everybody has made it to the call.
Yeah, you're right there. And one thing that we're going to see as the night goes on, we're going to get more cars on the racetrack. The heats actually have the least amount of cars. Consider this just kind of like an appetizer that comes out to the table before the main course, and get everybody warmed up. Some people only need a little nibble, some people need a lot out of the appetizers, but no matter what, we're all going to go sit at the table in a little bit and have one heck of a party. And lights are out on the pace car. Final heat. Nolan, what have we learned through all 3 heats, and what's it going to take to transfer into that top 4?
I think, despite being on a 10-lap race, it's still going to take patience, right? That's something we've been seeing, especially in heat race number 2, though. It's going to absolutely take a lot of patience with these guys. You've got to set these moves up, take a lap or 2, find out where you can get the run, and then set themselves up so you can make that run coming on over into the final 5 laps. Use the first laps to figure out the strategy. Green flag's up in the air. Aaron Clements takes us to the green.
Clements to the green and clears the field. The 45 gets a nudge from the 51, but saves it. We got a little bit of action further back on the racetrack. Really impressive stuff from the 51 of Jeff Coate to save it. I think you saw that too, Nolan. Casey Beattie definitely got into the bumper, but now getting the pressure from Logan Farrell behind in that 30.
And the 48 car has taken a tow to pit road, pushed it too deep into turn 1, and that'll be the lap as well as slap the outside wall and broke his car. Oh my goodness, a big tank slapper from Logan Farrell. You're right on board with Jimmy Everett off of turn number 2 and down to 3. The 58 car had to jump the binders, and now he's sliding down again, and that time it's going to be a spot game, but the 58 might lose 2. Kellen Miller going to shoot around the outside line, but Farrell going to retake that one from the bottom as he goes too deep, but Farrell is struggling big time here in the 30.
Farrell just needs to ease off the throttle pedal a little bit. He is wicked loose, and now the car in front of him, Kelly Miller, does the exact same thing, just squeezing on that throttle pedal a little bit too aggressively and spins it down to the inside. Thankfully didn't collect anybody, no contact to self-spin. And Nolan, that's kind of a trend we're seeing, maybe not so much in Heat 1 and 2, but definitely in Heat 3 and now in Heat 4, starting to bite some of these competitors. If you roll on that throttle too aggressively, seems to spin up those rear tires.
Stafford Speedway, with its longer radius corners than some of the paperclip or bull ring style tracks, is a momentum track, which means it is so inviting to just get on the throttle when you can feel yourself on a good run through turns 2 or 4. But you get on it too early or you push too far down the track onto that flat apron, that's where it's going to come around and bite you. So you have to obviously work the momentum, roll the car in these corners. That's something that Jeff Coate's been doing excellently here in the fight for the heat race lead, as Aaron Clements has been trying to fend him off, but overall, Coate has been closing in a couple hundreds here, a couple hundreds there. It's not going to be long before we see him potentially make a move down for the inside of that 67 Camaro.
I really love how you put that into words on how this racetrack works and the racing that goes on, because I do believe that the lunges that we're seeing are kind of due to the flatness of the racetrack too. And you're right, because of the limited banking, when they roll on that throttle too aggressively, they don't have that angle of the banking to lean into to have the car hooked up. And we're going to see if Jeff Coate can apply enough pressure here to Aaron Clements now that he's got 2 laps left here in this final heat. Now, if you're in Jeff Coate's position, you don't want to be too aggressive. You know you're locked in to advance into the main here, and so if you get caught up into a wreck that's unnecessary at the last laps of the race, kind of look pretty silly out there. But at the same time, trying to tell a racing car driver not to go up there and make a pass, and that's like trying to tell a kid, hey, there's cookies on the table. You can have 2 later if you only take 1 right now. It usually doesn't work out that they get 2 at the end. And Aaron Clements right now sitting in the good seat and sees the checkered flag from Barney. Big slide, and wow, almost stolen away from Jeff Coates, but Clements hangs on to that win. Jeff Coates, second place. Casey Beattie coming home third. Jimmy Hebert there in that final transfer position of fourth. Logan Farrell fifth. Kelly Miller sixth. And Tyler Hoare there with the problems earlier comes home in the seventh place position. And just like that, we're going to roll around to the consolation race, Nolan. And I don't know if you saw that wicked slide there. I wonder if we're going to see more of that stuff. And here's the official starting grid. Looks like we got Caden Fisher leading the way. Brian Hoare there in the second place position. Arthur Jordan third. Logan Farrell fourth. Regan Parent inside the top five. Ethan Tyrell sixth. Brandon Meyer seventh. Kelly Miller eighth. Bert Duffy ninth. And Jacob Roy rolling off in 10th.
11th spot, first driver on the outside of the transfer spot is going to be the likes of Terry Krenner with Taylor Hoare back at 12. Smith, Enrique, and Juan Marshall going to be the drivers around in the top 15. So top 10 going to advance with this one here, Joey, and that means the bottom 5 in this consolation race, they're going to be finding themselves watching from the sidelines.
Well, bottom 5. Now, that means a lot are definitely advancing in, and I think it all comes down to the attrition, being smart out there on the racetrack. And you mentioned it, I believe, when we started off heat number 4. You got to just keep it clean. I think if you keep it clean, this racing is definitely starting to spread out a little bit, and you got a shot at advancing in as long as you keep it pointed the right direction on the racetrack. And looking at the weather, it is continuing to cool off, now under 100 degrees on the racetrack. And what that means is that the cars are going to have more grip. When they have more grip, the drivers usually have more confidence, and more confidence isn't necessarily a good thing on the racetrack. I know in a driver's eyes it is, because he can go barreling into a corner, but sometimes there's other cars in the way. But Caden Fisher looking for the green flag and waiting to the last minute, and now on the loud pedal, the 18 gets going, but a big checkup from the inside line. Caden Fisher clear into turn 1. Brian Hoare there in the second place position, followed off by Logan Farrell in the third place spot there, going down the back straightaway. Looks like we got 2 wide racing for 5th place position, maybe even 3 wide coming off of turn 4.
The top 2 starting to break away. From third on back door, all the battles are taking place at the moment. You're looking at the 4 car pushing up the racetrack. Arthur Jordan trying to get something down, and the 74 Duffy gets loose down on the bottom side. Duffy's going to hang firm, and he will break ahead for what I believe is going to end up being 7th spot overall on the racetrack. Now the good news is, for the consolation racers here, there's only 10 cars moment out on the racetrack, and it's looking like some of the other guys further down low, well, they're going to be finding themselves going home a little bit too early with this one, as Jacob Roy, Moore, Smith, Enrique, and Marshall have all not made it to the grid. That's one that these guys can be confident on. Everybody makes it on through throughout the remainder of these 20 laps.
Well, and that's something that's a little interesting. You know, when you do heats, you got that hanging over the head that you could not advance to the feature, but we're getting actually some pretty good racing in this last chance qualifier, consolation, however you want to phrase it. And I think for some of these drivers that got knocked out in the heat races, this might be exactly what they need. Is consider this like an extra practice sampling of a race. You know, you get to try out these race starts, potentially even a race restart, and see how everybody is racing on the racetrack, and see if the high lines work and see if the low lines work, and maybe a little bit of a test session out there.
It allows you, like you mentioned, the extra little while to figure out what works, what doesn't work, as one car goes spinning into the infield. It's Ethan Terrible. What a save! Spins the car to the bottom, and he'll go for the 360 slide and pull it back up onto the racetrack, and we'll keep this thing green. That was with contact, though, with, I believe, it was Logan Farrell off of turn 2.
Yeah, I would say, you know, trouble there for Arthur Jordan, and I believe maybe Bert Duffy. I think it's just my timing and scoring have a little bit of an issue here. And here's the replay. Exactly what happened with this, a little bit of a hip check coming down the racetrack, but thankfully, check out how far away this inside wall is. You can pretty much act like a Pro 4 truck out here in the grass and not have any problems whatsoever.
And I think we might have just had the 74 car do Logan Farrell dirty. The driver that we just saw, the 23 hit, he was just put up into the outside wall by our friend Bert Duffy at the number 74 car.
Yeah, action all over the racetrack, and here is that, and you're right, getting up into the wall there. Pretty hard impact with what happened there, and you see just some cars trying to navigate around. And I would say the only good thing here is all of these cars are going to advance, so no matter how much action we see on the racetrack, everybody will go on. And just like that, we're already halfway through with this LCQ. And just to give you guys a little bit of a rundown, Caden Fisher hasn't had any problems out front, riding on board with Regan Prent. Looking at Brian Hoare there in the second place position, and I actually think this is probably the closest battle we've got on the racetrack right now. And we're going to be coming up to a lap car. That will be a story that will be the name of the game all feature. Is we're going to have cars pretty much all over the racetrack, and here comes Regan Parent. Oh, no contact down the back straightaway.
It continues to develop as Perret goes down and into the infield grass. Will get himself sorted. We're not going to... Sorry, that's Hoare that went down in the infield grass. He'll get himself sorted. And who was that ended up running him over? I believe that you mentioned it right. It was Perret that got into him, and I think the 30 kind of had a hand to play that as well with Logan Farrell. There's a lot going on at the moment around the Stafford Speedway. Got drivers kind of sliding down left, right, front, and center everywhere. Take a look at Maconi Entertainment replay here, and they see the 30 already slow on the racetrack, and there's 37 getting tipped around.
Yeah, I think Logan might have just been the innocent bystander here. This is Brian Hoare getting turned by and getting collected here on the inside. You gotta wonder if you're Logan there, you're just trying to mind your own business, get up to speed on the racetrack, and then here comes a car sliding across your nose. You definitely did not expect that one, and hey, you learn something new every lap.
You most certainly do, and I think a lot of these drivers are learning that when you try to fight Stafford Speedway, it has a tendency to fight back, especially with the conditions that we're running under as they stand. But overall, a very good run so far. We've got 5 laps remaining. Going to be 4 to go at the line this time by for Caden Fisher, who will come out and he'll take that 4 to go signal. So in that final quarter of this consolation race, I have a feeling, unless you see anybody starting to really spin it out again, we're not going to be seeing any changes to the running order here.
No, I think things have calmed down a little bit, definitely. And you're watching Caden Fisher, he's the number 18, this yellow and red car out front, go across the stripe. Now 3 laps to go. However, I am seeing Regan Parent back there wiggle around quite a bit, and it's not necessarily going to be a problem here this race. I just think it's a little bit of foreshadowing. And here we're going to watch from on board Regan, and you see how little they're actually turning the car. That means, wow, really close call with the lapped car there as Regan went underneath. But when you turn the car this little, it really means that the car is naturally set up to turn, and you got to be so careful dancing on that throttle pedal as you see almost opposite steering. I believe it was the old car saying sometimes you got to turn right to go left, and just like that, Caden Fisher actually takes the final lap. 1 lap to go here for the number 18 car, going down the back straightaway, just has to navigate through turns 3 and 4 one more time. Gonna collect the checkered flag from Barney the Flagman. Regan Parent will hang on to the second place finish. Brandon Meyer will come home 3rd. Kelly Miller 4th place. Kerry Krenner 5th. Bert Duffy comes home 6th. Brian Hoare 7th. Arthur Jordan and Logan Farrell. Ethan Terrell will round out the 10 cars that will all advance no matter how far down or how many laps they finish there in that LCQ. So kind of nice that everybody gets to get up and go. And we're going to take a quick break while the cars get under a warm-up phase and be right back with the starting grid and more racing action.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
There is a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is partnered with more real-world tracks and companies, including Junior Motorsports, than any other group on the iRacing service.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back to Maconi Entertainment and the iAmericanCanadianTour. We're watching all of this super late model action from Stafford Motor Speedway. We've already gotten through 4 different heats tonight, plus an LCQ. Seen a lot of action out on the racetrack, Nolan, and especially during that final LCQ. I thought we saw pretty much everything that we could possibly see at Stafford.
I think you're absolutely right. We saw a whole lot going on there in that final consolation race, and I think that kind of is a bit of a, shall we say, an appetizer, as you put it correctly, as to what we can expect to see coming up at the 75-lap main event here in just about 5 seconds or so.
Yeah, they're just a little bit of a warm-up finishing up on the racetrack, and then we'll be feeding you these starting grid tires, or starting grid. And yeah, it's been hurried up out there. We've really gone through all of the heats very fast. The LCQ had a ton of action. I think we saw cars on the wall. We saw them in the infield trying to be a Pro 4 truck. And just like that, we are on to the main feature, which you mentioned is going to be 75 laps here at Stafford Motor Speedway, all being led off by the 71 of Chris Fisher. Derek Glachocki going to be lining up alongside of him in position number 2. Reese Bogue there, 3rd place. Aaron Clemens, 4th. Brian Rogers Jr., 5th. PJ Evans, 6th. Ty Delphia there, 7th. Jeff Coate in the 8th place position. Joey Israelson, 9th. And Tyler Jordan in the 10th place spot.
It is Zachary Audit to be in 11th spot with Casey Beatty in 12th. Jason Goodbout is going to be 13th with Justin Prescott down in that 14th position on row number 7. Row 8 holds Tyler Connolly and Jimmy Hibbert with Kata Fisher and Regan Parent on row number 9. Row 10 holds Braden Mayer and Kelly Miller.
Yeah, and then in the 21st spot, we've got Kerry Krenner, Burt Duffy, 22nd, Brian Hoare there, 23rd. Arthur Jordan, Logan Farrell, and Ethan Tyrrell round out the 26 late models, or I should say super late models, that will be taking the green flag here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Now, we watched the heats plus the LCQs. Those are shorter races. We're going to be doing 75 laps now that this is the feature. 1 fast repair for all of the competitors, 1 green-white checkered attempt, and of course that setup supplied by Maconi Setup Shop. And Nolan, with all of the sprint racing that we've seen so far, what do you think? Do you think we're going to get a long green flag run, or are we going to see more immediate action and yellow flags on the track?
I think we're going to be seeing the pretty traditional early race cautions here in the order goings. It's so common to get down to and suddenly, take a field size that was 1.7 or 8 and jump that up by almost triple to 26, over triple as a matter of fact. I think we're going to see those cautions early on, but then from there, about lap 10 or so, we should be able to get things pretty quickly sorted out.
Well, there's one way we can sort this out. Bring out that Magic 8 Ball. Magic 8 Ball, are we going to see a caution before lap 10?
Will we see yellow prior to lap 10? Magic 8 Ball says cannot predict now, so even it's not sure.
All right, well, we're about to get green flag action on the racetrack. Chris Fisher is in control of the field and waits all the way to the end. Derek Glachocki actually gets a really good restart on the outside. Who takes it deeper into 1? And we got action from our pole sitter, turned around in turn 1, already yellow flag on the racetrack.
And that was not the only mess we had, as there is a second car that got spun around in the background as well. Believe that to have been Arthur Jordan that got spun around with him. So 2 separate incidents here. And Chris Fisher, the first driver, your pole sitter being spun around, but it was by his own mistake too. He just got loose entering turn number 1 on the cold tires. No contact involved after the sliding sideways. He gets run over from behind. Good job of the field, though, to escape this whole mess, as there you see Arthur Jordan facing back, and I believe it was Jordan that did end up getting some help here. We'll look back at this one, and in fact, it was, oh wow, it was a big dive from the 30.
Yeah, big dive from the 30 indeed, and I think Jeff Coate as well. It might have been the 51 that gets into the, or I should say, into the side here of our pole sitter, and you're right, just in too deep, a little bit like Phil Collins and Genesis there. And here's the 71 just parked in front of the 51 and nowhere to go for Jeff on the racetrack. He picks up a little bit of the nose damage, and I don't think the nose damage is probably going to be too much of an issue here at Stafford Motor Speedway. We mentioned that they do have a fast repair if they need it, but I think if you have steering damage, that's when we're going to see cars come down into pit lane. I would rather keep the track position out there on the racetrack. And going to get just another lap or two under the yellow flag, and then we'll re-rack them, restack them. And I know that the Magic 8 Ball just was asked a question, but let's cue him up again because he wasn't sure. He was very uncertain, and I know the digital Magic 8 Ball always tells all over here, and we didn't even get one lap of green flag action. Magic 8 Ball, are we going to see 2 laps of green flag action?
Magic 8 Ball is thinking about its answer. Oh boy, very doubtful. It doesn't bode well considering that it was pretty much on point for all of New Hampshire.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, fans who are out there watching on Maconi Entertainment, that means buckle up. We are in for a ride tonight. There's going to be elbows out racing, plenty of bumping and banging. Might I say classic short track racing here at Stafford Motor Speedway. And in fact, you look at the grandstands and it is standing room only here at the virtual Stafford Motor Speedway. I even see some big expensive race haulers lined up on the back straightaway. So you know the big names are here. That must mean the iAmericanCanadianTour is in town in Connecticut. And right now it's Derek Lashaki, and Derek made some pretty big power moves in his heat race to get up there and win that thing. See if the 03 can do the same thing on the feature race and on the loud pedal already. We're racing here once again. The 03 leads us down into turn 1. Looks like he's going to clear the field of Aaron Clemens coming off of turn 2, but we have more problems in the back. I believe Tyler Jordan has spun around, and this is almost a big one with cars scattering everywhere.
Well, I hate to be that guy, but the Magic 8 Ball seems to have predicted things accurately again.
There's a reason why the Magic 8 Ball is out there, and he tells the truth. You know, it was right last week, and you're spot on. It's right this week, and this one happens a little bit further in the back, coming off of turn 2. Do the 13 start to get loose? And I believe, was that maybe Joey Israelson right behind that really had nowhere to go inside the 36 car? I think that would probably be a good ride on board, because I believe it was the car right in front of him that ended up getting loose here. And here's that view. Yeah, just look at that, Nolan. The 13 gets loose and all dominoes from there.
It's just not a whole lot of places you could go. I mean, Stafford Speedway is far from the widest track on the surface, and I think that's, oh my goodness, the 44 sliding right back up onto the track. But I think that's kind of what can create these big stack effects like we're seeing here as we ride on board now with Justin Prescott, who got a view from the rear end of all of this. And oh, wow, the view from him as he had to shoot into the grass. And at this point, you're a bit of a passenger. You're just trying to slow it down to make the corner, and a little bit of a hit, but it could have been worse. Tidalville's been given an end of the longest line penalty for this latest incident. And words from Eric Seal, given after that lap 1, is that I think drivers might want to abide by. It was 75 laps. It is a 75-lap race.
It is a 75-lap race, and he is out there saying, settle in, get some heat in those tires, which is actually very important to do. The cars definitely act differently when they're cold and dirty, marbled up, than when you got some good rhythm going out there. Rhythm is the name of the game for short track racing. And right now, Derek Lachaki with another good restart, but Aaron Clemens actually a good drag race down into turn 1, side by side on his quarter panel. See PJ Evans also up there on the top side, but Derek able to clear off of turn number 2, and that means Reese Bogue is now side by side with PJ Evans for that 3rd place position. Jeff Coate, oh boy, it is addicted to the sound of my voice, isn't it, Nolan? Another yellow flag.
Justin Prescott the driver that was spun around to the back straightaway, coming down into turn number 3, and believe he had some help from the 11. Yes, he did, but not even from the 11. It looked like the 11 of Connolly kind of got pushed into him. This is one of those bigger court effects. This started about Kellen Miller. So Miller in the 6, got indicated Fisher in the 18. That shoved Fisher into Connolly, who then got into Prescott. We're on board with Miller here. You're going to see exactly what I mean right there. There's 1, there's 2, 3, 4, and all of a sudden, there goes the 44 going around.
Perfectly called there, and I think the only other time that we really see incidents like this is
it's the second one. Tyler Jordan spun around in the back.
And I think that's the combination. You don't really have anywhere to go when something happens in front of you. You know, we talked about it pre-race. Where can you go on these short tracks?
Nowhere, just about. I mean, you look at the 3 very distinct lanes, and it looks like it's a 3-lane racetrack, but trust me, you go side by side with a whole host of super late models around this place. Those 3 lanes feel like 1 lane in a really big hurry, especially since you look down at the apron, you might think that's a lane. No, sir. That's a good place to go if you want to take lanes away from drivers.
Yeah, it's a very good place to go if you do want to elbow them out, maybe take that lane away. And looks like we're going to be going green here this time by, so going to have to wait a little bit more on those mentions. Side by side down the back straightaway right now. Klachaki in control of another restart now. We haven't really seen too much green flag running. We're going to see if the competitors get it going, and Klachaki on the loud pedal clears Plemons going into turn number 1, and this might be the opportunity that PJ Evans needs on the high side to maybe clear going into 3rd place. But once again, Reese Bogan, the number 4 car, really hanging on down there in the low groove.
We finally make 1 lap to green. I believe that's the first lap we've had to green all night long. It was led by Glushaki as we'll run it down the back straightaway as drivers try to get themselves sorted as we continue to work deeper and deeper into our 75-lap feature event. PJ Evans running the top shelf with Reese Bogue right up with him, the 4. Trying to get to the inside. Whoa, on board with Prescott as Prescott had the jump on the binders. This is a traffic jam here in 1 and 2.
Well, you're right. Things are relatively calm at the front, but then you jump back here. Justin Prescott's point of view, and just like that, blinking, and cars round full course yellow. You saw all the action courtesy of the bearded sim racer picking the perfect car to follow on board with, and it was the 79 of Chris Fisher that got turned around. And boy, God, Nolan, when it rains, it pours, because this is our pole sitter once again involved.
71 involved, and this is just bad news for Chris Fisher, whose day goes from bad to worse as he gets into Burt Duffy. Now, kind of have to say, with the blinking, it's a bit hard to pin that entirely on the 71, as he's not quite sure where to go, but obviously it wasn't quite going to end well as soon as he went down onto that apron there in 3 and 4 on board with Prescott. And I believe he was behind this mess when it started off. You can see the 71 down to the inside there. Right there, they make contact, spin out right in front of him, and a bit of an accorded effect with him in the 29, as well as they had to scramble to the 2nd lane to get around them.
And I agree. I don't think that was the fault of the 71 at all. And I actually have to thank our race director, Brandon Davis, because he is keeping this playground in check out here. He's already got them all lined up for the next restart and not wasting any time out there. You never want to be trundling around under yellow flags. So good job to race control to keep the action rolling. And just like that, Barney is wearing out that right arm, waving the green flag one more time. We got racing, and already Caden Fisher around in turn 1, but thankfully keeps a point of the right way. We stay green flagged on the racetrack side by side up front for what is the position number 3, and now we've got that yellow.
One upside down into turn number 3. That's Tyler Jordan going to roll it back over, land it on 4s, and he'll drive away. But a big wreck for Jordan, who's again, after avoiding so much of the carnage, finally gets collected in it. And this is 3 wide. The 30 just pushed up from the bottom. Logan Farrell, I think he might have got loose off the apron. But you can't just push up if the cars aren't there. That forced Jordan up into Fisher and just flipped off of that wall.
And you see, yeah, it all started here going into the restart, and things just kind of get checked up from back here. And now you see the 29 going to get clipped a little bit and totally go full Humvee style and wall ride that. It flipped around. Thankfully doesn't play turtle for too long, though. Gets back on his wheels and going to take this opportunity really fast here to give a shout out to all of our great partners here on this iAmericanCanadian Tour. That includes GossCars.com, new used car sales, as well as expert car maintenance and care using skilled technicians, Goss, Dodge, Chrysler, Ram, and Jeep in South Burlington, Vermont. Also, Pard Brothers Racing, race-winning parts provider at the Thunder Road Super Bowl. Thank you to the Thunder Road Super Bowl, nation's site of excitement. And don't miss the actual ACT Tour race there on May 7th. Catch that action, as well as the SRX race on July 20th. Incredible racing guaranteed there at the Thunder Road Super Bowl. Also, Maconi Setup Shop. Remember, you can always go and download a new subscription, start dropping some lap time out there on the racetrack. And also Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone, the newest company from Maconi Setup Shop, specializes in event organization, promotion, and execution. And looks like we got a green flag on the racetrack right now. Went to a single file restart, so it caught me off just a little bit, but trying to clean up the racing on the racetrack. It looks like we've already got a spin. I believe that's Regan Parent getting turned around in turn number 2.
There was an attempt to clean up the race with the single file restarts. It did not necessarily work out entirely as Parent got shoved around by Goodbout, but we will keep this thing green and we'll, oh, we might not hear though. We got one car hard to the wall at turn 1. No yellow flag, we keep it green, Parent. That was Parent that got again at the outside wall. He's all out of shape now with a broken suspension, rubbing up doors with everybody on the racetrack now. Brent's gonna have to come down to pit road. That car is not handling well at all as it stands, unless he's just got some smoked rubber, but he took a hefty whack right into like that section of wall where it breaks apart for safety vehicles to sit at, Joey, and that actually caused to get damage to both the front and the back end.
You can catch this replay exactly what happened right on board with Caden Fisher, and check out what happens here right in front of him. And I believe it's Regan Parent that gets up into the wall. Yeah, you see him way up there in that safety cutout, but somehow is able to stay on the racetrack. And you're right, it's kind of odd that it happened right in that safety cutout for turn 1. We've actually got another yellow flag on the racetrack.
Miller.
Oh, looks like Regan Parent was actually avoiding Joey Israelson.
Yeah, maybe so.
That's what happened out there, is that Regan tried to avoid and then got clipped, unfortunately. And innocent bystander for Regan, and gonna have to see what brought out this yellow flag on the racetrack. But right now, working lap 29, about to click over to lap 30. We're watching this replay here as I believe the 17 is up underneath, and see if there's any action that happens here going into turn number 3 to cause this yellow.
There's Logan Farrell up in front. Farrell gets loose and then, oh, gets into the 6 of Miller, and Miller takes a hefty whack into the outside Armco barrier. So Miller down on pit road now as a result of that one. And that's not pleasant. That's just wrong place, wrong time for the 6 car.
Well, and I think that's kind of been the name of the game that we've seen so far tonight. Is we talked about it, when these incidents happen, there's not very many places to go, and you saw that those 3 cars weren't even very close together in terms of racing on the track. Yet, when something happened, they all got collected in that funnel, and kind of just the name of the game of short track racing. And looks like, I think we're gonna get another single file restart because the lights are out right now. Derek Lashaki is going to be leading the field down. Aaron Clemens in the 67. And I want to point out that while we were watching that midfield scrum, Aaron Clemens took a shot at Derek Lashaki and actually got into the left rear quarter panel. So we'll see how racy the number 67 gets here on this restart as the 03 is off and going here on lap number 32 of 75 at Stafford Motor Speedway. Jeff Coate going side by side with Reese Bode back there for the 4th place position, and things look pretty clean and calm for this restart.
And until it won't, as the commentator's curse has a tendency to find its way out no matter who we are. Now, Bosch gonna be up along outside. You're on board, you were on board with that Casey Beatty off of turn number 2. We'll keep things smooth down to turns 3 and 4. Goodboat trying to find the outside line of the number 17 Charger. Bosch gonna clear from the inside line. Goodboat thought about making a look, but I think more trying to defend against Israelson in 1 and 2.
Well, and let's draw the cameras up to the front right here, because this is the closest this lead battle has been, and it's Derek Lashaki here in the 0-3. We're riding on board with looking back at Aaron Clemens in that red 67, and then PJ Evans right behind, and PJ Evans has definitely won a race. Derek is always up there, as well as Aaron Clemens. We've seen the cream rise to the top here at the iAmericanCanadianTour, and look at this, already going to get another variable. Looks like they're going to have to deal with a lapped car coming up on the racetrack.
Caution is out, and it is Miller again sideways on the back straight. We see Miller down way on the inside, and actually, this might not actually, I think that's actually a separate incident, as I just looked back and I saw Kerry Krenner stopped up high in 4. So I think actually it might have been out for Krenner, that Miller was just something else entirely that went down. There's actually a few things that went down. So you had the 44 Prescott, apparently. He got tipped around by the 27. There's 3 different incidents here to start this one off here, Joey.
It kind of reminds me of that LCQ, you know, just kind of point, oh no, and then Justin Prescott coming back out onto the racetrack. Snagged the 13, it looked like. That is so unfortunate, and it happens quite a bit, and I would say in the sim world it actually happens more often than it does in the real life world. And Nolan, we can talk about this a little bit. Sometimes when competitors are on single monitors, they can't see. No matter how much you try to look, you physically can't see if somebody's there.
It does make it significantly harder to do so, and I think that's something that we'll have to keep eyes on here, shall we say, as we move a little bit further down the line. It's usually pretty easy to see when somebody's got a single monitor. If they got the triples, usually by their car reaction. So at this point, what do we think is going to happen here? Are we going to get this green flag run, or is this just going to end up being like New Hampshire? We're going to be getting flag after flag here until the end of this race.
Well, I think since we're officially past halfway, let's pull out our old friend, the Magic 8 Ball, because we haven't talked to him here in a little bit. And Magic 8 Ball, are we going to see a green flag run, or is Derek Glachaki going to run away with it?
Most likely, says the Magic 8 Ball in the question to will we get a green flag run. So considering how it so far has a borderline 100% track record, I think that looks well.
Well, we're about to find out. Is already accelerating up through the gears as everybody coming down the front straightaway underneath Barney, the flag man, and Derek once again with a really good restart kind of leaves Aaron Clemens and PJ Evans in the dust. They're sorting it out back there for 5th and 6th place position between Reese Bogue and Casey Beatty coming off of turn 4, 3 wide.
3 wide, the field gonna continue to work together here as they try to get this long green flag run in and fulfill the prophecy of the digital Magic 8 Ball. Down to turn numbers 3 and 4, on board with Jeff Coate, fighting it out for that 3rd and final podium position. We take it to start-finish line, 35 laps to go, make that 34 laps to go now as the field continues to work our way around. You're looking back now at Israelson and Goodbout side by side for 6th, while the top 5 break away.
Really close racing here between Joey Israelson and 36, trying to hang on to this top side here, just doing everything he can to try to hang on to the position. And this is for 6th place Casey Beatty now taking a look down the inside, and Israelson gets wicked loose but able to save the car somehow. Quick hands from the number 36. He's got to be careful now. He's got dirty tires, hot rear tires, and just like that, actually, Israelson pulls down to the inside of the racetrack, says, hey, you know what? Something's not right with my race car.
We run it down.
Go ahead. No. Nolan, you already started talking, bud. It's your turn.
Well, we continue to work our way through, and now you get the driver's eye view of what it's like to kind of work your way around turn numbers 1 and 2. And I think that kind of tells the story right there. These guys have a little bit of counter steer going on down the straights now. That's not entirely uncommon to see in short track racing. It actually helps these guys be able to take some slightly shallower turning in angles on the wheels, makes it less awkward for their hand positioning over a longer period of time, which is honestly, if I were to be honest, yeah, the car craps a little bit, but it is smart, especially for more momentum-based tracks like this one. It does mean, though, it is a little bit easier to get that car loose, especially if you clip that apron. I wonder if that's why we've been seeing so many drivers having problems with that in this feature.
It definitely could be one of the reasons, and to kind of explain that more, we're only doing left turns out here on this oval, so why does the car need to turn right? And if you can make the car turn left on its own without even you having to do it, then it's already accomplishing the goal that you need it to do. So you're right, it's a very good setup helping the car turn underneath, and you're also right that you got to be really careful with how much the car turns, because if you take advantage on that throttle pedal, it turns too much, like we've seen out of the competitors, like what we just saw out of Aaron Clemens coming out of turn 4 that last lap. Got a little bit loose as he rolled on the throttle, and PJ Evans all over the back of our second place runner. And in fact, Jeff Coate, after those early problems on that initial start, getting collected there with Fisher, has made his way in comfortably in this lead group, sitting in the 4th place position right now.
Look out, Prescott way to the inside, and he's going to hit that inside wall. Yes, he does. Prescott couldn't avoid the wall. Now he's got to avoid coming back up onto the racetrack. He'll park it right on the pit entry. He's actually going to come down to pit road as well. So, oh, he's got a black flag. No wonder. Prescott, I think, just got a black flag for an unsafe pit entry because of that.
You know, and I've been wondering about that, because that is the pit road entry right there. And so if you lose it on the back straightaway, technically they would consider that as coming down pit road. And you're right, it looks like a black flag there. And oh, looks like some action on the racetrack. Is this Casey Beatty that we're riding on board with? Not Casey Beatty, but this is the 18 of Caden Fisher getting into some action on the front straightaway.
I think a bit of action is, to put it mildly, Fisher's really fighting to hang on to that 13th place out here for the time being, as check up front to the fight for the last spot inside the top 10. Now we'll look back to the fight proper back down the field. This is Connolly, who's had his fair share of problems so far in this race. Brandon Mayer involved with this as well. Caution flag is out, and it's for one car stopped up high in turn number 4, and the 33 is going to spin it around to the front straightaway as well. Heads up. And Ethan Terrell manages to avoid a sideways Brandon Mayer, but it was Kerry Krenner, the sideways driver, to bring out our next caution flag.
Yeah, Kerry Krenner in the 11, I believe, was in turn 4 here. And these are the leaders that Kerry is right in front of here. See exactly what happened. And it is always a precarious position. You're trying not to make any mistakes because you got the leaders breathing down your neck, and just a little bit too much entry speed going into turn number 3, spins it up to the top side of the racetrack. And this is what happens behind. Ooh, looks like the 11 gets into the 33 a little bit.
Possibly. That would I think kind of explain why he spun around so easily. Tyler Connolly has been given an end of the longest lap penalty, interestingly enough. So Connolly going to be sent down to the tail end here. So that's going to leave it at that for that yellow flag. Now, the race controllers here are playing dangerous games. They've put it back to a double file restart.
Interesting. You know, I always liked when we got Brandon Davis in race control. He was providing some shots pre-race of where he was hanging out, taking a look over the racetrack, and I think he's probably got some pizza up there, maybe a milkshake on the way. He's probably got the most comfortable seat in the house, but he has been a busy boy up there, making sure we are on top of it with the yellow flags. And you called it, going back to the double file restart. Now I'm curious, Derek Lashaki has had really killer restarts this entire time, and Seems like Aaron Clemens, PJ Evans, and Jeff Coat have similar pace, but they don't fire off as fast. And now that we're getting the side-by-side restart, this is giving an opportunity to those other drivers to maybe go up there, start fighting too wide, and open up some doors that weren't there before. And pace car, you see him already off onto pit road, and that means here comes the restart zone. Derek Lachocki on the loud pedals, side by side. Good restart from the outside line of Aaron Clemens as they go into turns 1 and 2. Little bit of door bang, only a little bit of rub, not even door banging. And check this out, PJ Evans now tucked up behind Lachocki for the lead. And oh no, Casey Beatty gets a shove from the 17 of Goodbout, but keeps a point in the right direction.
We continue to work our way through. Oh, big crash, turn 1. One car body slams the outside wall. And we are under caution again with 15 laps to go. But a hefty whack for, I believe, the 29 of Tyler Jordan, who got kicked up on 2 wheels. And in fact, Tyrrell as well, the 23 machine, took a head-on shot.
And this is the 71 again. Chris Fisher, this isn't his fault. This all develops in front of Chris from what I see here. See the action going on. And the red 71, just another innocent bystander getting clipped and then getting more damage down there. I don't think our pole sitter saw this day coming.
I don't think anybody quite saw this day coming, if I'm being completely honest.
No, but just like that, I actually got 15 laps to go right now. So Nolan, no matter what, the laps are clicking down, the opportunities are dwindling, and this might be our only chance to bring back our Magic 8-Ball. So, Magic 8-Ball, I'm going to ask you one more time. Are we going to see green flag running to the checkered flag, or are we going to see a green-white checker at the end of it?
On the question of will we get a green flag run, outlook not so good. So we'll do with that what we will.
That probably means we will get that green-white checker, but before we get there, that means we're going to see some racing action here at Stafford Motor Speedway, all on Maconi Entertainment. This is the feature race of the iAmericanCanadianTour. 75 laps and done. 62 right now, about to get a restart on the racetrack. Derek Lachocki with a really good jump onto that inside lane is able to clear Clemens. PJ Evans now going to stick his nose down there for the second place position. Try to make life difficult for the 67 on the high side, and he's going to bring Jeff Coat along with them. He's the 51, third in line down low, and perfect restart from Lachocki and really that entire inside groove.
The laps continuing to wind down side by side between Boge and Perret down to turn numbers 3 and 4. Contact door to door. The 4 shoved up and wide. He's going to bobble on the exit of corner number 4. Comes down to chop off the nose of a Brian Hoare in the number 37 car down to the turn numbers 1 and 2. 10 laps to go this time by.
We're going to see if the famous prophet of that Magic 8-Ball stays true, or if that prophecy is just smoke and mirrors, as Derek Lachocki's doing everything right here in this feature race. He's controlled pretty much the entire race from the start of it, other than the problems that we saw with Fisher on the initial green flag run, but nothing is taking away this win from Lachocki right now. PJ Evans and Aaron Clemens have had the speed, but got to get up there and challenge that 03, working 9 laps to go now.
It looks like this may very well be the run where we finally get ourselves a good run to the end. And I say that, and wow, okay, you don't get much more commentator courtesy than I guess that one right there, as it looks like Prescott finishing the 13 of Delphia again collected in a variety of incidents here. And we'll take a look at the Maconi Entertainment replay. This one here coming on down. Whoa, hello, the 09 up on his side, right in the fence.
Yeah, and I think I saw the 44 in front of him as well. So both of these white and red cars having issues here. See exactly what goes on, and coming down the back straightaway, oh, gets really crossed up, and oh yeah, some door banging going on in front of him, and then wow, 3 cars involved in this one.
And that's just a case of hitting the wall in the worst possible angle to ride up and onto it. That was the 09 of Zachary Audit that got up and onto the wall. He'll come down to pit road, understandably so. I believe green flag then will be coming on out with about 5 laps left to go.
You know, I shouldn't have second-guessed him. The prophet was right. The prophecy of the Magic 8 Ball. You know, it was right last week. It's been right this week, and I'm speechless out here. You know, we're just going to have to start bringing the Magic 8 Ball with us everywhere we go, because he is predicting these races. Might have to take him to Vegas, actually get lucky down there, and looks like we got the pace car lights out one more time. Nolan, you're right. We're going to be going racing with 5 laps remaining. So if it stays clean, we could end it pretty quickly. But if we get another yellow flag, we'll be looking at that green-white checker. But this is the first time PJ Evans is lining up on the front row of this restart. See what kind of jump he gets. But Glashaki, once again, really good jump. See the 4, Reese Bogue, have problems further back, and the race is on up front as PJ Evans is hanging on the top side. Aaron Clemens now looking down underneath for that second place spot.
The whole field scrambling as he run it down to turn numbers 3 and 4. We got the 13 going around. We will save it. We'll keep it green. 5 laps left, 4 laps left to go from the Stafford Speedways. Once again, we'll continue to hightail it down and away. You got the likes of Evans up on top. Clemens on the bottom of second. They're going to go door to door. And the 12 car going to make contact up on the top shelf. 3 laps to go. Caution's out, and it's overtime.
Oh my goodness. Looks like maybe the 33, Brandon Meyer, spun around on the front straightaway here, but just as things were starting to wind down, we get that bonus time. Oh, wow, look at this on the front straightaway here. I actually think this started with the 58 getting loose in front of the 37, and I'm counting 5, 6, 7 cars involved with this one. And Nolan, check this out. The 58 just gets loose on throttle again. Oh, maybe got a little bit of help from before.
Yeah, I got hit by Miller, and it was Reese Bogue given an end of the long slide penalty for that one. So it was the 4 car. They did make contact.
Just the slightest of nudge, maybe even a nudge going in, and then there you see coming up out of turn 4, the contact, and then that collects multiple cars that just really have nowhere to go. But this brings out the green-white checkered attempt. Now, we only see this in oval racing, and this means that we're going to go back to racing with 1 green flag lap. Then Barney's going to pull out the white flag, and after 1 more lap of racing, we will crown a champion no matter what here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Well, I shouldn't say champion. We're only on race 3. We're going to crown a race winner here at Stafford Motor Speedway. You see all the cars sticking down to the low lane. Make sure any lucky dogs have a chance to go by on the top side. And Nolan, while we have another lap under yellow flag, what are you expecting to see here, especially out of the front 4? Because this is where the action has been the closest and the racing has been the cleanest.
From the front 4, I'm expecting it to be about business as usual. They'll try to see how many spots they can make up in these final 2 laps, especially since this is our only green-white checkered attempt. As for the rest of the field, business as usual. I think is a good turn of phrase to put it politely up and down here.
Oh my goodness. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, I think it's gonna be business as usual. Party, or what is it? Business in the front, party in the back, like a mullet out there on the racetrack, and just making sure that everybody is settled in, ready to go for this green-white checkered. And I see here, no dumping or you will get a black flag out on the racetrack. And a black flag here in iRacing probably means your event results might be disqualified. So you don't want to come out here, go through all the heat races, go through 75 laps, actually 78 laps right now of racing just to get a silly little black flag at the end of the race when you don't mean it here in the virtual world. And I'm curious. I've got my eyes on PJ Evans. He is lining up in the second row down low in that inside groove. Gonna see if he gets the jump along with Derek Lashaki, but pace car already off pit road. The final green-white checkered attempt is coming, and the 0-3 on the gas. Great start from both lanes. Aaron Clemens gonna take him side by side down into turn one. Derek Lashaki succeeding on that inside line, gonna clear him. Coming up out of turn two, moves up the racetrack just slightly, and here comes PJ Evans, gets a little bit of help from Jeff Cote, and that's gonna allow the 67 of Aaron Clemens to come down the racetrack, secure the second place position, but it is all up to Derek Lashaki. Out front, we got problems in the race in the back of the pack, but only two more turns for the 0-3. Does Clemens get to the bumper? He does. We're side by side coming on forward, but Lashaki hangs on for the race win.
What a finish there for Lashaki. Did everything he had to do. He saw Clemens trying to go the inside lane, and he forced him down onto the apron. That's what did Clemens in. If Clemens had been able to stay right on that bank, then he absolutely had the 0-3 dead to rights. But the second those two tires dipped below the solid white line onto the apron, Aaron Clemens lost traction, and that is what sealed the fate of the 67 car to relegate him to second.
Just really, really good racing from the front here, and we're gonna watch this burnout as Derek Lashaki really burns it down. We're gonna take a quick break as he parks it right on victory lane. Be right back with the official results here on Maconi Entertainment.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
There is a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is partnered with more real-world tracks and companies, including Junior Motorsports, than any other group on the iRacing service.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
You just watched Derek Lashaki come away with the win. We're going to catch all the action on this replay here. Going to see Aaron Clemens in the red 67 get up underneath our leader, get him a little loose here in turn 3 and drag race off of turn 4 to start finish. But ultimately, it was the 0-3 hanging on for the win, and you saw that twitch of excitement through the steering wheel. And Aaron Clemens there, second place. PJ Evans third. Casey Beattie fourth. Regan Parent comes home with the top 5. Jeff Cote sixth. Caden Fisher seventh. Brian Hoare eighth. Brian Rogers Jr. coming home ninth. And Jimmy Hebert there in a top 10 position.
Chris Fisher brings it up in 11th with Ty Delphia back in 12th. Jason Goodbow going to be in 13th place with Reese Bose back in 14th. Ethan Terrell starts 15th, or finishes 15th with Zachary Audit in 16th. Brandon Mayer was the last driver to finish on the lead lap in 18th. Gary Krenner was 19th. Tyler Connolly and Arthur Jordan round out the top 20.
And we see Justin Prescott here had a few issues, multiple laps down for the rest of these competitors. Tyler Jordan, Joey Israelson, Logan Farrell, Kelly Miller, and Bert Duffy ultimately had the 26 cars that we saw out here at Stafford Motor Speedway. And I know we're waiting on a couple of our racers to come in for these post-race interviews. I know I really want to talk to Derek Lashaki because he's been one of our consistent front runners throughout this entire series, and cool to see him bring home this checkered flag. And Nolan, let's actually bring you back in because we just saw an entire night of racing at Stafford Motor Speedway, and with the help of the Magic 8-Ball, we got through it, but what were some of the highlights that stood out for you?
I think for me, one of the highlights that stood out was how different the racing dynamics seemed to be from the heat races up to the feature event, right? I mean, the heat races were really tame. I mean, we had a few battles here and there, the occasional door bang, but it was very civilized. But the consolation is when it kind of started to go a little bit more downhill, and then the feature event, that is where everything went off the rails. And I think it's because at that point, that's when points are on the line, right? You don't get points for heat races or finishing second, third, or fourth in the heat. You don't get points for the last chance qualifier. You get the points for the main event. And on such a short season, it is that feature event and what few laps you have that matter the most.
Yeah, that is what matters the most. And looks like we got a few stragglers coming into this commentary booth here. We're going to start off with third place finisher PJ Evans. Congratulations on the final podium spot, PJ.
Yeah, thanks. I wish we had more green flag laps. I mean, couldn't really get the feel of the car. Just got stuck battling. But it was pretty fun when we had that one long run. So it's fun battling with Aaron and Derek and them.
Well, now I know you're a previous race winner here in the iAmericanCanadian Tour, and you were up front really all day today. What do you think you needed in order to snag away that top spot from Derek?
We just needed more laps. We just needed to stay green, and like I was faster than both of them. Like I was just conserving, just trying to take control my pace. But the cautions just kept coming, and it just kind of ruined the momentum for me.
Well, and talk to us a little bit about this car, this super late model that everyone is racing out here on iRacing for you. And we notice it's set up pretty twitchy. It can be loose. It has a lot of horsepower. But how have you enjoyed driving and racing this car so far in the series?
I've enjoyed it because it's very hard to drive, actually. It's just a lot of throttle control involved and just car control, basically all that. And you would just be very easy and smooth. You don't want to be like rowdy on the wheel and just all over the place. You're going to be slow. You're not going to be up front. So that's how I really have been doing well, just being smooth, staying up front and not over killing the car, over driving, and basically just staying out of trouble also.
Well, I think the old saying is smooth is fast, and sometimes the slower you drive it, the faster it goes. And PJ Evans, before I let you go, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to or say hi?
I'd like to thank my parents watching, and a few other of my friends watching at their house, and I would like to thank Team Critical. That's it.
Well, that was PJ Evans. Shout out to Mom and Dad. Hi, Mom and Dad. Coming home with a third place finish here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. And looks like we're going to have our second place finisher now standing by with Nolan.
Aaron, holy cow, what a finish. You had him on the inside, and the slight mistake coming off of turns 3 and 4 cost you a win here. What was the lag on that last green-white checker there?
Yeah, I try to move on the final lap, and I got too throttle happy coming off the corner. It looked like it was gonna work a little bit, but with these things, it's so throttle sensitive that I just got a little bit too excited and almost cost myself second. But it was fun.
It wasn't even the first photo finish you had so far all night long. You had the same thing happen down in your heat race as well. Do you think this is a track that really kind of supports the close race that super late models are known for?
Yeah, I think it does. Everyone just kind of rides the bottom, so like everyone was close to practice. It's every race so far in this series. It's been me, PJ, Derek, Casey, and Jeff Code up front. Us five, we're all so close in time, so close racing. I knew this track was going to put it on. So, yeah, it makes us pretty close.
We look forward. Obviously, we're entering well into the second half of the season now. Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park comes up next. It's a track that it has a similar-ish shape to Stafford, but it is a much more top-line heavy racetrack than we saw Stafford being. What's going to be the strategies we get set to come on down to our second-to-last race of the season?
Kind of hang on to that right rear. That track's kind of very similar to this track where it's just throttle sensitive with this car. You could just throw it in and just let it coast through the corner, try to save your tires for the end. Thompson's a very tire dominating track, so if you have a little bit more tire than everybody else at the end, you can really make some noise up front. But I wish next week we can go a little bit more green in this series. The top 3 would have been put on a really good show. But hopefully next week's a little bit better with the green flag racing.
Fingers crossed. Thank you for joining us up here tonight, Eric. Congratulations on that 2nd place. And well, hopefully we'll be having you with some good luck next week in Thompson.
Thank you.
That was Aaron Plemmons joining us up here, 2nd place here on the podium, as we will throw things back down to you then there, Joey.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like we're going to have Derek Lashaki coming in. Huge points day, though, because Derek came in 3rd in points, coming home with that race win. Also, PJ Evans came in here in the lead in points, coming home with 3rd place on that race finish. So I think PJ Evans and Derek Lashaki are going to be 2 of the names that we're going to see regularly through the final events here of this iAmericanCanadianTour. And we want to thank tonight's race sponsors, GossCars.com and Hard Brothers Racing, as well as our broadcast partners, Maconi Setup Shop and Maconi Competizone. Calling the action tonight was myself, Joey Atterbury, alongside Nolan Rempel in the booth and Ryan Bauer, the bearded sim racer, producing. Don't forget, round 4 of the iACT Tour is 2 weeks from today, March 26th, with the super late models at Thompson Speedway. And as always, we would like to thank all of our viewers for tuning in to tonight's racing action, and a special shout out, of course, goes to the entire staff for their work in bringing this racing to you. Be sure to stay tuned in to all of our social media pages, and we hope to see you at our next event. This has been a broadcast by Maconi Entertainment, and we wish you all a good night.